Greetings, everyone. Dr. Brian Scott with you again. We're studying Insight to the End Times. I have always been curious about the end times, the prophetic end times referred to in the Bible. I've studied this now for over 40 years. It excites me. I hope it excites you as well to know where we are on God's timetable. We're getting very, very close to the end of time. We're in the book of 2 Timothy, where Paul was writing the preacher, Timothy, in chapter 3, verses 1 through 5, and he's warning him of the last days and perilous times, which are exceedingly fierce, exceedingly dangerous times coming upon the world and upon the people. In verses 2 through 4 or 5, there are a lot of signs and symbols, or essentially signs of what's going on. When you see this happening, we're getting closer and closer. We've looked at lovers of self, lovers of money. We've looked at boasters and proud and blasphemers. And this session right now, we're looking at point number 17 on that list. It's called high-minded or haughty. Now, the interesting thing in this list of terms that Paul uses, several of them go together. For instance, if you're unthankful, you end up becoming unholy. Points number 8 and 9 on the list. If you are unloving, you end up being unforgiving. Those are items number 9 and 10. And when you become a slanderer or a truce breaker, then you end up becoming without self-control. Today we're looking at high-mindedness. Yesterday we looked at heady or emotional intolerance. Here we're looking at high-mindedness. This is someone with an inflated ego, unbridled pride. The Greek word is tupho, and it gives us the English word typhoon. Now, if you've ever been in a typhoon or a hurricane, you know that we're going to have a very strong storm. Heavy winds, heavy rain, and so on. So what do you do to prepare for it? You batten down the hatches. You close everything up. You put plywood over the windows and doors. You put sandbags in front of the doors. You make sure there's nothing loose that's left outside. You get your family to high ground. You get them into a protected place, because when the typhoon hits or the hurricane hits, you are going to be in the midst of a major storm. Well, we're in the midst of a major storm as it pertains to people's behavior today. We are seeing them causing all kinds of problems, all kinds of turmoil, because they've turned their back on the church, they've turned their back on Christianity, and we're just seeing everything spinning out of control. I think back to March of 2020, we were in a conference in the first few days of March. We returned here to our home base. We had a great weekend of services, and then it was only a few days later, around March the 11th or so, that the pandemic was announced, and our governments jumped into action, and they decided the best way to deal with it was to batten down the hatches and plywood the doors and the windows and keep everybody in their house and shut down everything that was going. So just a very few number of stores were allowed to stay open. Our churches were closed down. Our schools were basically sent home and told to study online. Most of our stores were out of business. They were closed. We only had a few places left. It happened overnight. It happened as quickly as a hurricane comes on the scene and brings its high winds and its heavy-duty rains and waters. It was absolutely the fastest thing I've ever seen happen. So we're in a typhoon-like time right now. When the typhoon's over or the hurricane's over, what do? You clean up and you get things back to normal as quickly as you can. We are in the midst of trying to clean up and get things back to normal, but we can anticipate another typhoon or hurricane to come very, very soon, because these are signs of these last days. We've just lived through 2 years of torment and restriction. I don't know what's coming exactly, but I know it's going to be of this same nature. We are in the last days. Perilous times are here. I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us today.